Tonight I'm taking you somewhere far away. Turn down the lights, find a comfortable spot, let yourself settle in. This story will first make you feel the cold and then slowly warm you from the inside. -40 degrees, no fire, no flint, no way to make a single spark. And somehow, people not only survived it but lived in it. If these kinds of stories do something good for you and you don't want to miss the next one, you can subscribe. A like is small, but it means something real. And before you close your eyes tonight, drop a comment. If you were out there at -40 with only one object, what would you choose? Really think about that one. Let's start with a thought experiment. It's -40 outside and you have nothing, no lighter, no matches, no fire starting tool of any kind, just what you're wearing. And honestly, what you're wearing isn't great. -40 is a strange number, and that's not a coincidence. It's the exact point where Celsius and Fahrenheit agree with each other, the one temperature where both scales say the same thing, and no matter how you measure it, the answer is identical. This is serious. At this temperature, the human body begins making a decision within a few hours, and it doesn't consult you first. It just starts. Now let's be clear. This is not an abstract thought experiment. Throughout history, people lived in these conditions. Not just survived them, but actually lived in them. Built families, raised children, sang songs, laughed, all at -40. In the depths of Siberia, across the frozen plains of northern Canada, in villages in Alaska where mornings regularly hit -50, people lived alongside this cold for thousands of years, and not beside it, but inside it, and they figured something out. Cold is not an enemy. If you think of it that way, you have already lost. Cold is a puzzle, and every puzzle has a solution. The first rule is learning to breathe again. Really breathe. At -40, if you breathe through your mouth, the air hits your lungs like a blade. The nose was shaped over thousands of years to handle exactly this. It warms the air, adds moisture, filters it. Covering the nose is the first thing indigenous communities taught their children, and that one small detail saves lives. The second rule is movement. Not panic, not running, not burning through your energy in 30 minutes. Deliberate and steady movement. Your body is a furnace, and you need to keep that furnace running. Stop it and it stops. Now let's talk about fire, because that is the heart of this story. If you have no flint, no matches, nothing to create a spark, what do you do? This is a question the Inuit and the peoples of Siberia answered thousands of years ago. Fire is always possible. You just need to know what you're looking for. The bow drill is one of the oldest fire-starting methods humans ever discovered, and it looks deceptively simple. A board, a spindle, a cord. But the word right is doing all the work here. Right wood, right angle, right pressure, right speed. Because with the wrong wood you can work for hours, and all you have to show for it is a very sore palm. The right wood was knowledge passed through generations. Northern communities knew which tree in which season produced the best coal dust, and that knowledge was so valuable it was guarded, shared carefully, and left as inheritance. The cord pulls, the spindle spins, a dark powder collects in the notch. That powder heats up, and then one moment arrives. It begins to glow from within, a tiny orange point alive in the dark. And when you see that ember, your heart jumps because life just came back. But before the bow drill, there is another secret. Animal fat, a stone hollowed out, fat poured in, a thin wick of dried moss placed inside. This small lamp produces a surprising amount of heat. An Inuit dwelling was kept warm through an entire Arctic night by these fat lamps, and the method is as practical as it is beautiful. Using the fat the land gave you and a stone the land gave you, lit by a flame the land gave you. Nothing wasted. Clothing at -40 is a weapon, and the wrong clothing kills you. It is a question of layers. The inner layer pulls moisture away from skin, the outer layer keeps wind and water out, and the middle layers trap warmed air in pockets of insulation. Reindeer hide solves this almost perfectly because each individual hair is a hollow tube, and thousands of those tubes together create a nearly perfect thermal shield. Modern synthetic insulation discovered this principle later and marketed it with great pride, but the original inventor had long since been forgotten. The feet are the most critical point because if blood can no longer reach your feet, the body makes a priority call and protects your organs, not your toes. Indigenous peoples solve this by packing dry grass into hide boots, and grass's insulation is lightweight, free, and available everywhere. Shelter is where a remarkable truth lives. The inside of snow is far warmer than the outside. When it's -40 in open air, a snow shelter can hold a temperature near freezing inside, and that gap is the gap between dying and living. The igloo is the highest expression of that truth. Every block cut at a precise angle, interlocking, the walls slowly melting from body heat and refreezing into a waterproof shell. An engineer who examines this structure for the first time pauses, because nothing here is accidental. Food in this cold is not nutrition, it is heat. The body burns calories far faster in extreme cold, and fat in particular generates much more warmth than protein. An Inuit hunter in deep winter might need 5,000 calories a day, and most of those come from seal fat, whale meat, and bone marrow. Not coincidence. Thousands of years of close observation compressed into a way of eating. Water is its own puzzle. Eating snow drops your core temperature, but you cannot go without water. The solution is melting snow, and the most practical method is putting a small amount into a skin pouch and tucking it under your arm. 15 minutes later you have water, and you have used nothing but your own body heat. None of this knowledge was ever written down before writing existed. It traveled from mother to daughter, father to son, elder to child, and that transmission was so strong that over thousands of years it never broke, never got lost. In Inuit languages, there are many words for different types of ice because each type communicates something different. One word means safe to cross, another means stay back. The language here is not a tool for casual conversation. The language is survival itself. Now imagine night is settling in and you have made a decision. No fire tonight, shelter and body will be enough, and that will be enough. Deciding can feel like the hardest part, but actually it is not. A body that has made its decision relaxes because the uncertainty is gone, and uncertainty is more draining than cold. The most exhausting thing is not knowing what to do next. And survival experts will tell you the same thing. A wrong plan is always better than no plan. Imagine building a quinzhee. You pile snow into a mound and wait. Because snow crystals need time to bond and settle. Then you hollow it out from inside, leaving walls no thicker than a thumb, not more. Because thicker walls increase the collapse risk, and this is the language of experience rather than theory. When you crawl inside, something happens. Sound disappears. The wind that was cutting through everything a moment ago becomes distant. The sharpness of the cold softens. And your body begins to understand that it no longer needs to spend energy fighting. The environment is no longer trying to kill you, it is simply waiting. This feeling is impossible to fully describe in words. Only someone who has spent a night inside the snow really knows it. You are not alone in this night. Every person who has ever crawled into a shelter like this across all of history is here in some way. Their knowledge carried you to this moment. Their trials and errors and the things they learned the hard way all flow into this single night. The most dangerous hours are between 2 and 4 in the morning when the body goes deepest. It cools. It slows, and it doesn't warn you. But sleep is not optional either because a body without rest cannot generate heat properly. Judgment blurs and the immune system falters. The solution indigenous communities found was beautifully simple. Take turns. One person sleeps while the other stays awake, and both survive. A solution so clean that armies and sailors and mountaineers all rediscovered it in different forms centuries later. But the original inventors didn't do it to receive credit, they did it because they loved each other. Morning arrives with a shift. The snow turns pink, then gold, then that blinding white. And seeing that white requires protecting your eyes because snow blindness is real and it is merciless. Sunlight reflecting off snow enters the eye directly and burns the retina. The Inuit snow goggles solved this long before anyone called it a solution. Narrow horizontal slits carved from bone or antler, narrowing the field of vision and absorbing the glare. Modern sunglasses followed the same principle in plastic many centuries later. Daytime is for hunting, and that too is its own art. At -40, if you carry a bow, you never separate the bowstring from your body overnight. Because once it freezes, your second chance may not come. The string kept warm against your skin through the night, still supple and ready, saves your life in the morning. Tracks in the snow tell a full story. How old the prints are, where drops have fallen, which way the wind shifted, where the animal was moving. Put those together and you have a map, and at the end of that map there is food, which is to say, life. This story is not only about survival. It is saying something about what is worth surviving for. At -40 people sang, and the reason is more concrete than you might expect. Singing regulates breathing rhythm, accelerates circulation, and when the mind is occupied, fear becomes smaller. This is not metaphor, this is physiology. The Evenki people have sacred songs for cold, and the Inuit have a form of music where two people face each other and transform each other's breath into rhythm. Someone who hears that music feels both the cold and the warmth at once, both alive in the same moment. Maybe that is the essence of surviving anything. Holding both things at the same time, darkness and light, cold and warmth, fear and stillness. An Evenki proverb says, "The person who laughs beside the fire has chosen to live." That choice is made again every night, and every night the same darkness is entered, and every morning the same light returns, and this cycle has repeated so many times that it is no longer remarkable, it is simply ordinary. And inside the ordinary there is always a miracle. Sometimes it is only forgotten now the hunt was good, wood was found or fat was ready, and a small flame is caught, and you have come to sit beside the fire, and everything is different. When the body begins to warm, the mind opens, and the opening mind notices its surroundings again. The snow is white, the sky is enormous, and that enormity is no longer threatening but beautiful. And to see that beauty you had to pass through the cold first. Now night is coming again, but this night is different. The night before was cold and the body was alert, the mind calculating. Tonight there is fire and there are people around it, and there is the sound of that fire, the deep slow crackling of wood, a sound that says life is continuing. You are there now, beside that fire, lying back, a heavy hide covering over you, your feet slowly warming, and the hardness of the cold is becoming something like a memory, real but somewhere far away. The human mind works this way. Once danger has passed, it builds normal quickly around itself, and inside that normal the warmth beside the fire feels ordinary, and that ordinariness is its own kind of miracle. A child falls asleep beside that fire listening to the voices of the adults. Maybe the rhythm of an elder's story drifting through the warm air. Maybe the sound of wind passing outside the shelter. Maybe the long, slow call of a wolf somewhere across the snow. The wolf is out there in this cold too, and it has learned to survive as well, and its story also carries thousands of years of knowing. But tonight that sound is far away, and that distance is safety, and inside that safety everything slows. Breath slows. Thought slow. Only the sound of the fire remains, and in that sound there is an uneven but steady rhythm, and that rhythm carries you without asking permission. Snow may be falling outside, and each new layer settling on the shelter like a blanket. The world's most powerful insulation material is exactly this: snow and the billions of tiny air pockets held inside it, all holding you together. Somewhere nearby someone is breathing, and that breath is carrying you too, and tonight there is nowhere you need to go because you are already here. Right here. This cold is the cold of thousands of years ago, and this fire is the fire of thousands of years ago, and this warmth is the one language every human being across all of history has understood. To be beside fire, to be safe, to be beside someone. Imagine reaching your hands toward the fire, blood returning to fingers that were numb a few minutes ago, that return arriving as a tingling, and the tingling arriving as aliveness, and the feeling of aliveness coming back is one of the most beautiful sensations a body can hold. And you are not the first to feel it. Before you, reaching back thousands of years and maybe further, there are people who lay beside the same kind of fire and felt the same tingling in the same fingers and closed their eyes. All those generations passed through this cold, and each of them at the end of a night like this slept, and woke, and continued. And here you are, one link in that chain, in this night, in this warmth. The fire is slowly dimming, but the coals do not go out. Underneath the ash a coal waits until morning, and that coal is enough for a new flame. An Evenki grandmother tells her grandchildren, "Fire does not leave, it only waits." Tonight it is waiting. In the morning you will find that coal and place a dry leaf or a thin branch over it, and the flame will return, and it will be cold, but a familiar cold now, a solvable cold, a cold that can be left behind. The body is growing heavier. This is natural because a body that feels safe lets itself go, and that letting go is both the hardest and the most necessary thing. Tonight there is nothing left to solve. Everything this cold had to teach has already been learned, and the rest can wait for morning. Morning will come. Snow may fall a while longer, or it may stop, but morning will come. Light will slowly find its way through the shelter, and the body will feel that light before it sees it. But not yet. Right now there is only this night. And in this night there is a place that is very cold and very dark outside, but here it is warm and quiet, and there is breathing, and each breath is a little slower than the one before, and inside that slowing the thoughts grow thin, and what remains is only this moment. At -40, the sky is impossibly clear because in cold air every particle of dust and every drop of moisture has settled to the ground, and the stars sit just behind the dark like someone placed them there, close enough that you could almost reach them, and someone who looks at those stars long enough notices something. The mind expands, its edges grow wider, and inside that widening all the tiredness dissolves. Only the sky remains, and the lights, and the breath. You are there, and you can feel this warmth. Snow is falling softly, and every flake is unlike every other, and that difference is the mark of a beauty that exists even at -40. To see that beauty you had to pass through the cold, and you did. On the other side there is a warm and quiet place. And you are there. And that is enough. Just this.